Let's see if it's going to do this again. Or let's see if it's not going to mess up again and do better this time. All right, we're back. Technical difficulties. Not sure what's going on with my computer and Facebook as of late, but they seem to not like each other. But good morning. Good morning. This is Dr. King. Happens, I'm going to jump right into this because it's already starting out on a bad note. But remember, cybersecurity topics through the end of the year. And so today we're going to be discussing social engineering and how not to be manipulated, how not to let yourself be manipulated by a social engineer. And as with the last two or three topics, social engineering was developed as something that was supposed to be good and positive. However, you always have that yin and yang, and you always have somebody that is always going to try to take something positive and turn it into something negative. In the context of why it's a bad thing is where a cyber criminal uses social skills to gain or compromise an individual, organization, or technological um, information. So they're coming after you, they're coming after your company, but more importantly, it's not just you and your company they're coming after your technology, your servers, your computers, your hard drives. They're coming after that, and they're using a company's or the most weakest thing within a company, which is unfortunately their human capital, their employees. And it's a manipulation type thing. It's phishing. It's baiting people for information. It's using their emotions against them. Um, we're gonna get all into that, but says, hey, this is Bob from IT. I'm calling. I heard that you were having problems trying to log into your computer. Well, no, I won't. Oh, well, maybe that wasn't you. Okay, let me make sure I have the right extension. You have a good day. Bye bye. And that person will continue to do that or something like that until they find somebody in the company or you at home who runs your business out of your home that's having a hard time trying to change your password. Or they'll send a social media post or it's a DM, as they call them, the direct messages, and say, hey, such and such is having a party. They've gone through your website and they found out information about you, things you'd like to do, because social engineering is a preparation planned thing. It's not something that's done off the spirit of time to execute a social engineering attack. They're going to go through, if it's you as a person trying to steal your identity, they're going to go through your social media accounts. They're going to see things about you. That's where they start sending those little quizzes that ask you, I bet you can't list all your kids' birthday in order. Come on, y'all. Things of that nature. Or they send you a message and say, hey, I see that you coach basketball. Are you interested in coming to a basketball camp? It could be anything. If you're a company, they're going to use your employees, or you against yourself with your company, especially if you have a bitter, disgruntled employee, because they will run their mouth and tell everything. So a social engineering attack is one that is yourself running your own, at home business or whatnot, or a company where you have employees and they're using your employees against you. But the whole point of the matter is to gain access to your server information. Remember, with any cyber attack, the very first thing they go after are your passwords. So they're trying to find out information about you, about your company, so they can hack your network servers. They're trying to get the passwords, encrypted or not, to your network servers to get hold of the data that's on there: names, phone numbers, addresses, credit card numbers, email addresses, bank account information. That is the primary goal of any cyber criminal. Okay, and so got my notes. Y'all know I always have my notes. They're gonna contact people, like I said, whether it's you or someone in your company, they're going to start asking questions, fishing for information. And there are different methods that they're going to use to try to get the information. The first method is fishing. We've already talked about fishing. The second method is what's called a watering hole. And that's where, say, they take a legitimate site that people use, a banking site, a grocery store site, a shopping site, something that's used that is actually legitimate, and they hack that site and they put malicious code onto the site somewhere. And then you go in and you use their website and you click on something, and now that code has been downloaded to your servers or hard drive or whatever, and now they have access to your information. Or they do what's called a welding attack. A welding attack is where the cyber criminal targets specific people because they are trying to gain access to specific information. They're not just going after the average IT guy. They're going after the IT guy whose job is to maintain the servers with the high profile multi-million dollar clients on them. That would be to try to gain access. Remember I said Bob the IT guy? Well, there is no Bob the IT guy. Well, that particular Bob the IT guy doesn't exist. So they create a fake identity and they start calling around or emailing, and they come up with a scenario of something until they find somebody that falls for it. And they keep doing that until they find someone who falls for it. They are playing on you as a person. They're playing on your emotions. They're playing on your intelligence. At the end of the day, they are really playing with your intelligence. Also, what they call baiting, which is where you need something like an update, like to say there's an Apple update of some kind, and so they're like, hey, you need to get this update, otherwise your computer's not going to work well. Embedded within that update is malicious software that now they're using and have installed malware on your computer, or ransomware or something like that, and now they have control and access of your servers or hard drive. And then something called quid pro quo, and that's where you're basically helping each other. And so they're saying, well, hey, I can help you do this if you give me money, or I can help you do this if you agree to send me a gift card. It can be anything. So there are just all different types of ways, and there's a list of ways. I picked the top 5 ways that social engineering attacks are done. And like I said, they are well thought out. They are planned. They're rehearsed. Wrong, then if the person is not really good, and most often your social engineering cyber criminals are very good at what they do. So they're going to make sure that there are no mistakes. They're not going to get caught. They're going to be in and out. Some, if they're really bold, they're going to attempt to come to your company dressed up as somebody to access your servers, things of that nature. So just understand and pay attention. And so, as with anything, how do you combat a social engineering attack? How do you prevent it? And once it's happened, how do you combat what happens and how do you fix it? So the first thing you do, especially if it's an email phishing attack, before you click on a link in an email, you take your cursor and you put it, and don't click on the URL, the link. You just put the cursor over it, and a little box will pop up above it, and it will show you the actual link that link is directed to. You know how you can create emails? Because I do it all the time with my basketball emails. I'll, direct my parents to like a registration link, but instead of putting the actual link itself, I'll put the link into where it's being directed, but the text that's being displayed may say, 2021 basketball registration. And so if it would actually give you the actual link that it's being directed to. Okay. Well, it's kind of the same thing with a social engineering scam. So you want to make sure that you don't just click on a link. You hover and put your arrow above, just sit it on that link, and a little box will pop up and tell you where it's going. If the link is not the same, then you do not click on it. Just as easy as that. Also, if somebody calls you or texts you or emails you claiming to be from a company, do not respond or call any numbers in that email or however they try to contact you. You go out on the internet or whatever and you find that company, see if it exists. You have to do a little legwork, because sometimes they will plant somebody and say, hey, somebody's going to call this number and you need to answer this company and say, hey, thank you for calling. What. So you have to make sure you do your due diligence. Don't just say, hey, I found this company on the internet. It looks legit. I'm just going to call a number. No, you have to start doing some legwork, start doing some research, do your due diligence, and find out if the company itself exists. And then if it does exist, then you call them directly and ask questions. Don't just say, hey, this person called me. Is they, or, are they there? No, you start asking questions about information that the company or whoever called you is supposed to know. And then you'll start determining whether or not it's a legitimate thing or not, and whether you just need to hang up the phone. Also, make sure that you are using antivirus software and anti-phishing software. Those are simple things, and most often some of them are free. You have your premium versions, but sometimes the free versions and doing everything that you need to do, all of that together will help combat it versus trying to do one individual one alone. Like password manager, instead of trying to use that by yourself, use the password manager, um, multi-factor authentication, as well as using antivirus software as well as anti-phishing software. Okay, use multiple levels of security to help yourself. And then if by chance you are attacked and something happens, then you need to report, especially if you have a company. Now if if it's just you're going to have to call somebody and get some help. But if it's your company and you have a bona fide IT department and you're just a regular employee, and it really doesn't matter whether you're the owner or a regular employee, you need to let somebody know so they can lock down the remaining servers. They can do what they need to, taking off the network so it doesn't spread to any other servers, any other computers and things of that nature. So when something does happen, especially if you have a company, you need to make sure you say something. If you don't have a company, you need to get with the Geek Squad, get with somebody, your internet service provider, get with somebody to help resolve the issue. Okay. And then base foundation to everything. Make sure that you are using secure passwords or passphrases. Long enough, have capital, lowercase letters, numbers, and whatever symbols that can be used. Password manager. Remember, we talked about password manager. We've talked about that just about every week for the last 2 months. Password manager, that's one secure place to store all your passwords, and all you have to remember is one strong password. Okay. And then if there's a government agency that handles, social engineering that's based on what happened to yours, because social engineering attack can be any type of attack. It could be a data breach, a restaurant's data breach, a bank's data breach, whoever's in charge of that, and call the police and ask. Search on the internet and ask. Search on the internet and ask. Search on the internet and determine is there some type of agency or police department that you can call to report what has happened. Okay. And so once again, the internet can be a fun, wonderful place, but it can also be dark and dangerous. And if you don't know what you're doing, if your kid doesn't know what they're doing, if your elderly family, friends, whatever, don't know what they're doing, be careful and teach. Teach them to take care of themselves. Teach them not to just talk to strangers. Teach them not to just volunteer information. Teach them to learn to protect their information like their lives depend on it, because it does. Okay. And so once again, I try not to go too long because Facebook and my computer are not getting along as of late. And I do not want this wonderful presentation to end on some type of glitch. So social engineering, emotional manipulation, mental manipulation of human capital, of a person, in order to gain information to be able to attack a network of servers. If it's just you, attack your heart, drive it home, or whatever, to at the end of the day, get money. The whole point is to gain something of value, money, whatever. And so if you are taking the precautions to protect yourself with your internet service and your personal information, keep that stuff private, keep it close to the hip, keep it where nobody can access it. Be careful about who you're talking to. Be careful about what information you put out there. Be careful about, just being all willy-nilly on the internet, because things go wrong, and they have, and they continue to. Cyber criminals are getting smarter. We have to get smarter and try to stay one step ahead. See what my topic is for next week, you guys. I always forget to look that up before I come on here, but it's no worries because I can pull it up. We are in November. Next week, we are talking about using QR codes. Okay. So, on that note, I will say goodbye. Have a great week, and I love you all. Bye bye.